way to win. Where there's a will, there's a way to win, work and play to win. Knowledge God, the greatest thing. Is how can we bypass the greatness, looking the latest thing? Is this the predicament that history has placed us in? We, the wafer thin, chase paper kings. Money don't make a king, nor does it bring the happiness that they say it brings. You know the shout. Mouth open, story fly out, we taking in. Thinking like a slave. It ain't going to change a thing. If we can't start until someone else says begin, free from chains and still can't break the link, how the hell on earth we expect to escape the brink of extinction? Let us face the fact that we're afraid to think that there's more to life than scraping script, so life becomes bitter and dry like it takes the gin. Anytime we take shortcuts, police take our prints. Whether for lesser or greater things, look at the state of things. Look at the state we're in. Minor virtues, major sins. A cold reflection of a system we raised up in. What will be the shape of things to come? If we ain't razor sharp, we'll be razor thin. We can turn it round in the time it takes to blink. If we can't see the kingdom, it must be a place within. Woo! Further entertainment, I shall now try out my singing voice. Don't. I'm not a singer, so if it breaks, you know, just
work with it.
Fantastic, yeah? Lifestyle for sale, and every somebody, a story for tale. Best believers I live and breathe. All I got is my words and my deeds for real. I and I echo from the ghetto, bigging up black man from here to Soweto. Screwing at ruins of bare bricks and metal, riotous have-nots make bombs with petrol. Cities of anger, who dropped the clanger? Within one cycle of the earth, a Laura Biden turns into a gangster. In the manner, raging like Bruce Banner. In this life, every man done have their price. And as sure as my baby can count to 10, men now look for angels in men. Or women. You know why? How most of us lie. I and I carve my destiny through the future with my gift from the Most High. As earners juggle and make money double. And make believe that the street scene is the only hustle. This world is a toy box full of games. And every man in it I try to work bring. As fact, it matters not what the colour. It's not enough that some succeed, co-op, some have to suffer. I and I see red like Basha, thinking of the I could do as I reach for the knuckle dusters. But more dynamic is the struggle. Conflicts continue, blatant to subtle. I grab the mic and I speak through a muscle. Keep focus, don't buckle. Chapter. Lifestyle for sale. And every somebody a story for tale. Best believers I live and breathe. All I got is my words and my deeds for real. Devils are slick and shook with mind play. And to justify their bullshit, they find ways. So I find rest in the dark melanin night and escape the truth of all of those who don't tell it right, because enough man's mission is division. We are all the same in the fact that we are different. Being alive, saying we gods, but we still strive like slaves with backs blooded for 400 in this shitty metropolis, whose fate's foretold on the walls of a sarcophagus. Now we riff, how we in the mix of historics and hieroglyphics brings bounce betwixt biblical and Quranic scripture. Ewa, I and I formulate my own picture. I trust no one and follow none, but let the force guide me like the planets them around the sun. Lifestyle for sale, and every somebody a story for tale. Best believers I live and breathe. All I got is my words and my deeds for real. Pursue the truth. There's no monopoly. False ideologies become apologies. We're raised in the earth to fulfill prophecy. I and I, G-O-D, not idolatry, let that stand. For every child, woman, and man, let the elders take a rest, and the rest take a stand. Keep your black fist closed, don't expose your black hand. Remember where you are and that you live in a land that warrants a Stephen Lawrence occurrence. We fight for justice. Make God pass the judgment against all of those who don't have the covenant, equating economics with spiritual substance. No doubt, times are rough, times are tough. When innocent ones of us bite the dust, the price is life. Let man pay the cost. Eye for eye, tooth for tooth, blood for blood. Lifestyle for sale, and every somebody a story for tell. Best believers I live and breathe. All I got is my words and my deeds for real. My body carry the souls of many men that number the grains of sand in plenty lands beyond what your brains can scan. A great expanse, a world in the grasp of wicked hands that plan to keep tabs on man with barcode brands, living horribly below lines of poverty. In pursuit of pure pathways to dark ways, a horoscope now stargaze at the last days. It's peace that my heart craves, but through the dirt of my own flesh, I can't hear clear what my heart says. So to the God I chant praise, and give thanks forever for what my hands never made. Lifestyle for sale, and every somebody a story for tell. Best believers I live and breathe. All I got is my words and my deeds for real. Thank you.
Before I introduce the final speaker, I've just been asked to write the hashtag on the board. So anyone using Twitter, please tweet with this hashtag. The struggle continues. I'm going to try to write this as quick as possible. There you go, the struggle continues. Our final speaker before our Q&A is Lee Jasper. Lee Jasper is a Respect Party politician from Manchester. He is a British race relations activist and served as senior policy advisor on equalities to the former mayor of London, Ken Livingstone, until Ken Livingstone resigned on March 2008. Lee Jasper was a witness at the Stephen Lawrence inquiry as representative for the 1990 Trust, and was also a campaign group member of the Lawrence campaign, and credited for the intervention of Nelson Mandela in support of the Lawrence campaign. There are so many more things to say about the brother. You can even check him on Wikipedia, Lee Jasper, but we'll get to it and introduce him. Please make some noise for that.
Thank you. First of all, can I thank the organisers and the host for inviting me today. I'm a non-Muslim, so I'm feeling particularly honoured, from my perspective, to be invited to speak at this important event. And of course, for me, Malcolm X plays a special role. And we'll come on to that. A little bit about me. You know who I am. If you not, you can check out on Twitter at Lee Jasper. I'm co-chair of Barak, which is Black Activists Rising Against the Cuts. Now that's not in homage to the leader of the, in quotes, free world, in terms of Barack Obama. It's just a naked marketing attempt to gain name recognition quickly. And so we adopted the pseudonym Barack, Black Activists Rising Against the Cuts. We're an anti-austerity campaign that makes sure that the campaign against austerity and economic injustice doesn't lose sight of the fact that scapegoating and racism form a fundamental part of that whole scenario. Because many of the times you'll go to a white left meeting, and this is apposite in mode of Brother Malcolm, where we're talking about all sorts of injustices, but the issue of racism doesn't appear, or if it does, it appears in a tokenistic manner. And so it's important that when we're talking about combating austerity, that we understand that the primary tactic of divide and rule is to scapegoat minorities. Are you with me on that point? Because people don't want you looking at the real authors of your destruction. which is the casino bankers and the hedge fund managers and the super rich. They don't want you looking at the Lord Finks. They want you looking at Ed Ball's window cleaner and whether he provides a receipt for cleaning the windows. That's the level of distraction. Have you ever seen a magician show where he wants to put his hand in your pocket to steal your wallet? But in order to do that, he says, watch this. And you're so busy watching this, you don't see the hand in your pocket. The political art of distraction is to feed you up a stereotype archetypal image of somebody they know resides deep in your colonial consciousness as the new Negro of the moment that you can demonize at your will. And as you know, over time, different people will fill that spot. What the Muslim community is going through today is not new. Islamophobia may be a new term, but the discrimination against Muslims and the tactic used is not new. I came from Northern Ireland this morning, Belfast. I talked to Sinn Féin and the Republican people over there, and it is clear that the tactics of trial without jury, of illegal detention, were all pioneered against the Republican movement in Northern Ireland in the 60s and 70s before they were exported here to the UK. So there is nothing new in that sense under the sun. And again, Malcolm teaches you that history is best
qualified to reward all research.
History is best qualified to reward all research. And let me tell you why Malcolm Sarp's right on that in relation to our situation. Because European history, put succinctly, is that when their economies go down, racism goes up. Are you with me on that point? Usually, racism goes up, followed by fascism, followed by an illegal war, a good war, in quotes, to restore the economy, against another people's land in the name of human rights and democracy, which is a flag of convenience for robbing people's resources and invading other people's land. And that's the nature of European history. And at this time of acute austerity, where the European Central Bank is printing 1.5 trillion euros to prop up the Eurozone, we are, as a people, almost affected by the neoliberalism culture that we find ourselves in, that we find ourselves fighting against. We are not unaffected by that. I think, brother, you mentioned, negative views about black people in Muslim communities. That's a reality that has to be dealt with. And negative views in black communities about anybody else, those are realities that have to be dealt with. If we're going to fight and win the battle against neoliberalism, first we have to decolonize our own mind, decolonialize our own struggle. Indians in Britain today are more Indian than Indian in India. What's the matter with you? Africans are more African in London than they are in Nairobi. Yeah? Why are you retreating into particularism, religious, ethnic, or whatever, at a time when you need maximum unity? Because if you think that from your small patch, whatever that is, that you're going to be able to overturn this current system, you're crazy. This system will eat you up and spit you out. The only way in which you can get the kind of systemic change that you require to make a fundamental revolution in values is by making alliance with other people. Are you with me on that point? The only way it can happen. As much as I'd like to, be the sort of super masculine black man leading like Malcolm, troops of thousands to go and storm the Houses of Parliament, that ain't never going to happen. It's going to be a rainbow coalition that takes the revolution to its final conclusion. And in order to do that, you're going to have to negotiate between ourselves what that political alliance is. And that's why I like Malcolm. Because Malcolm, I'm talking about rapid change, and Malcolm was a person who changed. Malcolm wasn't the same Malcolm when he was red as when he went to Mecca. He wasn't the same person. He grew throughout that. And I like that because I grew. I was a working class black kid in Manchester just smacking down racist police officers as often as I could. Well, sometimes for sport, but most times for defence. Because we grew up in the time of sus, where you could just get arrested for looking at a policeman. I don't know if you remember the charge of sus. It was suspicion of committing a crime to property or persons unknown. Now, you got to get that in your head. Suspicion of committing a crime against persons or property unknown. The only evidence that you had to have is a police officer saying, you look suspicious. People went to jail for that charge. But obviously, if a police officer approaches you and you think he's going to arrest you for sus, in the 70s, you used to practice the one knockout punch rule. Because you know you're going to get one chance to get away before those racists call for backup and you're going to get a serious beating. And we had some serious beatings at the hands of the police. But you see, when we were growing up, we gave back as good as they got. They left their car unattended for 2 minutes, they came back, they found dog excrement on the seat waiting for them. If they left their keys in the car for 2 seconds, we took the keys out of the car. If they didn't leave the keys on it, we'd flatten their tyres. Whatever happened, the fight was ongoing, and it was always targeting the right people in terms of the people who was giving us harassment. And that's how Malcolm grew up. Malcolm grew up a hustler. You know, I grew up on the fringes of criminal activity. It's only when I went to jail, and I'm one of the few black leaders, leading black figures in this country, that has actually been to jail. A lot of people talk about the socially excluded and how we're going to help poor Tom and little Jimmy Brown down in the ghetto, right? But these guys have never been anywhere near jail on the inside, never faced a beating from the hands of the police, never been involved in that kind of struggle. But when I went to jail for fighting with the police, the thing that saved my life was reading the autobiography of Malcolm X in Strange Ways Prison, which is a Victorian hellhole in the height of 1976 summer, when the heat is on, no ventilation, sharing your cell with 3 other people you don't even know, and like less. And you're forced to call every guard in there boss. You didn't call them boss, you got beat badly. And so you're in a deeply apartheid prison system, and you're forced to succumb. And reading Malcolm X carried me through that experience and brought me out the other end. By the time I came out from reading Malcolm X, hands up if you've read Malcolm X autobiography. Let me see how many people have actually read the book. Well, you know, put it on the bucket list. You need to read that book, right? It's the most illustrative and interesting narrative on the civil rights struggle. But having got through prison and come out, I then utilised Malcolm X's philosophy about black self-organisation. Now for me, black self-organisation is critical, and I come from my own particular nationalist perspective. Saying I'm a black man doesn't tell you anything about me. It doesn't tell you anything about my morals, my religion. You can't tell which country I came from. As I'm a black man, so what? This is a kind of lazy American speak for our condition. Actually, for us in the United Kingdom, black has to be people of colour fighting against racism. And let me tell you, there's a lot of people of colour not fighting against racism. That's why I make the distinction. That's why I make the distinction. There's people of colour not fighting racism. There's people of colour who are in fact part of the problem. And we've got to, part of what the lesson that Malcolm gives us is how do you come to determine who plays what role in our communities. And these issues and Malcolm's contribution onto them is very important. And in Europe, where we see the rise, the mass rise of Islamophobia to the state of almost McCarthyite proportions. People know what McCarthyite proportions is? Yeah? Were you now, or have you ever been a member of the Communist Party? J. Edgar Hoover, yeah? 19, whenever it was. Right? All over America. People were being asked, are you a member of the Communist Party? Today the question is, are you a Muslim? And so the implication is, are you a Muslim extremist? All over Europe you see the rise of Islamophobia. And you can tell things are really bad. Because I often thought that, well, Europe's got a 1,000, how many times do we hear Europe's got a 1,000-year-old culture? We're the home of civilization. We're the home of the free, and democracy is our number one thing. And the first time they see a woman in a hijab, they fall apart and create laws and run up and down and gone crazy. If I knew a couple of women in the hijabs could send them into such an ecstatic state, I'd have had a revolutionary hijab front yesterday and march up and down with a few thousand of you all and send them into the stratosphere. But all over Europe that is happening. Because Europe, in essence, is considered, and this is what I think at least, is almost the white man's last stand on the planet. Right? This is where the man's back's to the wall now. All great empires are built on what? Great crimes. We know that the European empire has been built on a great crime of robbery, theft, brutality and murder. We know that the reason we've got lovely buildings like this and roads and schools is not because of the entrepreneurial enterprise of the Anglo-Saxon here. Right? All of the benefits you now enjoy in terms of a model, liberal, democratic, capitalist society have come from where? Your own countries of origin. Your India, Africa, Caribbean and Asia. That's why we have what we have. And so we're here in this country and all over Europe, and as their economies decline, and it's inevitable they must decline. Doesn't matter how long it goes on. The moral arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice. So you could be an empire for 500 years. Sometimes the Egyptian empire went on for what? 3,500 years. A long time. But the end will come. And the end is coming for European dominance of the global economy and cultural and political hegemony. But let me tell you something. From what I know of Europeans, they're not going to go down without a huge fight. Are you with me on that point? So you all better be prepared. Because there's nothing like a white man who's lost his job, his money, and can't find it, right?
What?
There's nothing like that kind of individual, right? I've seen them break the world in order to recover their position historically in the past, and I have no doubt that they have the arms. Look what's going on with Ukraine and Russia on the borders there. They've got the arms, they've got the intent, and they know they haven't got the money. So that quantitative easing stuff there, they're printing off money to save the economic system, that can't save them. They have to go and rob somebody to save this system. And they'll go to where the resources always are in our countries. But we're affected by that neoliberalism, not just the white people. The white people have a sort of neurosis about the collapse of, white Anglo-Saxon Protestantism or Catholicism. You can see that, can't you? A minaret. You're not winding me in now, bro. I had to come all the way from Ireland to talk. You see a minaret on the high street, and somebody writes a thing talking about it's the end of British values and British civilization as we know it. A hijab in Skegness, oh my God. Let's get Nigel Farage down here and UKIP and so on and so forth. You know what I mean? You can tell the fragility. You can tell their fragility because they're intimidated not by what they're seeing in front of you. You are just a mirror reflecting their own fears. Their own fears is that they think sometimes, what if these people were actually to take charge? Would they do to us what we did to them? That's their underlying fear. Have all the crimes we committed to create European capitalism so great, so iniquitous, that it's bound to lead to our own destruction? That's what they're seeing in their own psyche. So they project their fear outwards to all sorts of minorities, be they immigrants, and I'm part of the movement against xenophobia. Look up No Xenophobia on Twitter and help us raise the money so we can put our posters right around the country combating UKIP's racism. So I'm coming in now, Chair, so don't worry. But certainly, in terms of the European situation, it's critical, it's going to get worse. And 80% of black people in Europe don't have passports. You all think, some of you got passports here, you might think you're part of the sort of privileged few, closer to the white man's seat of power because you've got a passport with a Queen's head on it or whatever your passport says. Most of our people in Europe haven't got passports. Now, which way do you think the trend is going in terms of European politics? Is it to extend passports to the 80%? Or is it to take the passports from the 20% that have already got them? You heard what the counter-terrorism bill told you. The Home Secretary's got the right to take your passport if she thinks that you're undesirable. The police. I'm determined to get my passport taken off me, trust me. I'm determined. You can take mine. I'm born here. You can take mine. I'll be the first in the queue. But we're affected. We are affected by that neoliberalism, not just white people in Europe. We are affected. I mean, you're wise enough to know. I even know some black people who don't want to be black. You know that. Anytime blackness walks into the room, they get embarrassed.
You know, bring a little you in with his head turned back, but, you know, like with the sunglasses and the thing, and oh my God. Man in the grey suits curling, or the woman in the pencil line, Marks and Spencer skirts, thinking, I hope he's not gonna, you know. Because we are affected by our own racism. Some of us, look at skin lightening cream. How much is the skin lightening cream industry? I'm trying to get your melanin to bleach out and look like me. I tell you, it's not good. It's not good. Yeah, I want to reverse melanin. And I need that vitamin D, regular copper.
Teach, bro.
Give me that golden brown complexion. While I'm fighting for your revolution here, I'm bleaching out. So how do we get the revolution soon? Or I might have to join the other side. I don't know. So it's important that we recognise that we are affected by that. And some of us will, you know, in our history as relations between African and Asians, we've seen what disunity causes us. When the Asian community was imposed with immigration legislation in the 70s, we didn't really get behind the movement against immigration. Because some of us sat in our communities thinking, well, the Asians, they cook funny, they smell the food is a bit funny, they dress a bit funny, they don't talk English, right? We talk English, we're Bayesian, we're Jamaican, so we're probably farther up the hierarchical ladder than them. And they just come here like yesterday taking everybody's jobs. Yeah, maybe we should put immigration legislation on them. 30 years later, we're subject to the same immigration legislation, which means you can't get your granny in, your auntie for a wedding, or even, dare I say, a holiday, because your community didn't think that that issue affected them. When the police were battering us in 75 and 76, we saw Asian people standing at the side. Not all of them, some of them were with us in Bradford, the Bradford Youth Movement, and some others. Because, you know, black people in the north are more radical than you're down south, you know that, don't you? That's right. You got too complacent. You come up north where you have to fight for your right. That's why you got a black Yorkshireman and a black allied Castrian talking to you today. Right? No offence to the London brothers. Right? They're like your football team, you're all soft. Right? And, you know, in the 70s when we got our ass kicked for stop and search, some Asian people said, well, yeah, well, we all know some of them black people is criminal. We all know that some of them is criminal. And they smoke them ganja on the street, they're robbing people's gold and they're running up and down and playing Reggae music. They need to be kept under control. Get the police to stop a little bit more of them. No doubt that was said. Margaret Thatcher said after the 76... I'm coming now, Chair. Margaret Thatcher said after the riots of 86, she turned to the black community and said, you all need to be like the Asian community. Family orientated. Open some shops, stay home late at night, keep care of your kids. The Asian community is the epitome of British values. That's what Margaret Thatcher told the black community after the 86 riots. 30 years later, you're public enemy number one. Are you with me on that point? You're public enemy number one. And so, you didn't think that stop and search had anything to do with you when we were getting our ass kicked in 76 and fighting back against the racist police. We didn't think immigration was anything to do with us when you're always getting your ass kicked in 71 to impose the legislations that we see coming through in immigration legislation today. And now we're at a point where we either learn from our past and unify in the spirit of Brother Malcolm, coming together as an alliance, or we will be ever, forever, individual, particular ethnic, religious victims swimming around in your own little pool of self-pity. But the braver decision is to overcome your own colonial mentality to relationships with others and yourselves and build unity for the future. Are you with me on that point? That's what Malcolm would have taught you. Look to your own history to find that, and so on. And finishing off, it's about, for me, radical leadership now is needed. The economic crisis is definitely coming. They can't print quantitative easing every solution for this problem. They're going to have to think about war and conquest as a means of recovering their economies. We know they're heading that way. We know that they're raping the planet in terms of the environment to do it. We know that they are conspiring with some of our people. You know, some of our own people are in partnership with these neoliberal elitists who are seeking to economically dominate the world. We know that. Look at Saudi Arabia, look at Bahrain, look at Nigeria. Some of the decisions that they have made in relation to the IMF, in relation to other countries. They are in the same trough, drinking from the same pig swill as all of those who are seeking to profit off the poorest in the world. And now's the time when real revolutionaries have to stand up. Bob Marley said in one of his songs, who's going to stay at home when the real revolutionary is fighting? There's lots of people here who have felt for years, we're going to make it. You know, England's an okay place. Keep your head down, the economy's not too bad, we're going to get a job. Hands up here who can afford a house in London. Hands up if you can afford a house in London? Yes, you can. No, you can't. It's confused. Only white man in the world. It's a simple question. Have you got any money? Yes, I have.
Afford a house in London.
You can buy a house in London. Yeah. Give that man a round of applause. Now ask him to leave because he's the 1%. Who else can buy a house here in London? Raise your hand if you can buy a house. Raise your hand if you can't buy a house. If you cannot buy a house in London. That's the future right there. Black and ethnic minority youth unemployment is 60%. The only place with 60% youth unemployment currently is in Greece, and they're having a financial crisis. We've got a financial crisis in African, Caribbean, Pakistani and Bangladeshi communities right here in the UK, surrounded by wealth. Nobody knows about it. I've been on too long already, and I must be able to, you're going to want to do some Q&As. So can I thank you? Look me up on Facebook, look me up on Twitter. I'm speaking in Brixton tomorrow night at the Nation of Islam Mosque. So if you want to come to the Nation of Islam to discuss whether we should be voting or not, we'll be down there tomorrow. On Saturday, I'm at the TUC Unite Against Fascism conference talking about these very same issues. But thank you very much for your patience. Cheers.